All right. 3:30. My headset. There's my headset. It's never far away. Ba-ba-bum, ba-bum, ba-bum. All right. Market stats for June. Let's go. Here we go. All right. So while I'm logging in here, anybody want to take a guess as to how many homes expired or canceled in our MLS in the month of June? Either unmute yourself or put it in the chat box. Hey, when you guys and gals log into the MLS and all these pop-ups come, I always just click read later, mainly because I feel bad. You ever read all those things? Because I never do at all. All right, here we go. Let's do this. All right, so let's have some fun. So we always start with this. This is like I like to start here because it gives me a general idea of helping price property. So let's check this out. So we're going to go to expireds and canceleds, and we're going to go to the month of June. There you go. And this one, we're going to go there. All right, let's see. How many homes expired or canceled in the month of June 2024? It was over 5,000. Only goes to 5,000. That's the highest it'll go. This says 5,000 plus. So over 5,000 homes closed or expired or canceled in the month of June. This is just our MLS. This isn't the state. This isn't the region, the country. 5,000. That's a lot. Woo. Oh, Nelly. Pretty neat. So why do I show this? What's the point of this? Well, so we can go hammer 5,000 expireds, Robert. No, that's not why I show this. Okay, it's not why I show this. I show this to help you when you're going on listing presentations because you're going to deal with sellers that sometimes think your price is wrong. I know it's crazy to think that, but you're going to deal with sellers who are going to think sometimes that your price is wrong, that the house should be priced higher, or that, hey, it's Southern California, all these homes sell and they fly off the market and all these other different things. You're going to hear that on some listing presentations. And this is one of the really easy and great objection handlers because it's not even an objection handler per se, it's a fact. You're not pulling out some random statistic. You're not trying to be salesy or anything along those lines. You just simply get to go, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I get it. You want this price, and you want to start high, leave room for negotiating, all these other things. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, could I tell you that in our marketplace, just our local market, Mr. and Mr. Seller, not statewide, not national, just our little local market, 5,000 homes last month expired or canceled, which means 5,000 people had their home for sale and couldn't get the offer they wanted for the most part, right? We don't have to get into the semantics of sometimes a cancellation could just be plans changed and things like that. 5,000. So Mr. and Mrs. Seller, clearly not every home sells. So Do you want to be one of those 5,000 homes that don't sell, or do you want to be one of the thousands of homes that do sell? I want to be 1,000 homes that do. Great. Then we got to price it correctly, right? So it's a great little way to get pricing under control when you're talking to some of these sellers. Now, check this out. I always like to go to this little section, which we only have for one more month, this little BAC, this little BAC section, which stands for Buyer Agent Commission. And if you go through this, now I'm not going to go through all 5,000. We're just going to scroll through down this first 100. But if you look at this column, right, this BAC column right here, and you just kind of glance at it, right, you just kind of stay focused on it. You know, this column again right here, you know, just kind of glancing at it. Do these seem, for the most part, like pretty decent commissions? Seem like pretty decent commissions. I mean, almost all of them are in the twos. I mean, you go to the top here, I mean, we got 2, 2, 2.5. There's a 1, 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, 1.75, 2.5, another 2.5. Look at all these in the twos. Oh, there's a 0, right? But a lot of them are in the twos. So you would obviously be excited at this point if you got a 2.5% buyer agent commission, right? Right. So here's what this tells you. It's not about the commission, because this is where one of the things some people have to upgrade and they have to adapt, because we have a lot of people that have an old price reduction script. I mention this sometimes when I talk about upgrading your listing presentation and your plan of action, because for those of you that follow Mike Ferry, for example, you still have that old plan of action that says you're going to fax a feature sheet to the top 20 agents in your marketplace. I'm pretty damn confident we don't even have, I'm almost 100% confident we don't have a fax machine in 10 of our offices. I'm almost 100% confident we don't have one. So, but it's the same thing, because some of you are using an old price reduction script that says, hey, we have a couple options. One, we can lower the price, or number two, we could increase the buyer agent commission. If you're offering 0, sure. But if you're offering something, it's all about price. Because look at this 2.5, it didn't sell. Every buyer's agent would love to show 2.5. So anyways, this is a little tool that you can utilize when you're on listing appointments if you're running into a buyer a buyer or seller that's being a little tough on price. The other thing to look at here, again, this is just the first 100. There's 5,000 of these. We're not going to go through the whole thing, but you get the gist. You look at some of these days on market, right? This category here. I mean, there's nothing. I mean, this one's 177, but 58, 106. I mean, none of them have been on the market that long. So it's also important that you know that, because it's good to know what your competition is. And there's hardly anyone really does a 6-month listing contract. So you could do it, but it's not something you need to stick to. Okay, I mean, get it priced right, it'll sell relatively quickly. All right, questions on the expired and canceled stuff. You can either unmute yourself or put it in the chat. All right, very good. So now, to prove my point slightly further, somebody give me a city. Nobody wants to give me a city. Fine.
Corona. Sorry.
Corona. So let's look at closed. Actually, let's change that. Let's look at pending in June. right? So we look at this. Okay, we got this in pendings. So again, looking at these percentages in these BACs, right? Again, I can't filter that by this, but you could just scroll down. You see a lot of twos. 2.5, this one's a flat fee, but a lot of twos. You see a 1.5, a 2, 15,000, 2, 2.25. I mean, I think I've only counted like 4 or 5 that is above 2.25. There's a 2.5, 1%. These are all pending. So there was a buyer agent. So in Corona, so here's my point when you're looking at this in Corona. These are all deals that went pending in June, which means there was a buyer that agreed to purchase it and a buyer's agent that agreed to the buyer agent commission. Well, 2% was pretty much dominant. I mean, you saw 1, 3, and maybe 5 or 6, 2.5. So you probably had maybe 8 or 9 deals out of 74 that were 2.5 or higher in Corona that went pending. All of them were mainly twos. There was a couple 2.25s in there. The point I'm making here is if you're in the city of Corona and you're on a listing presentation and you're fighting over commission, why in God's name would you be fighting over the buyer's agent commission? I'm not saying you all do that, but it makes no sense. Well, I charge 6%. You're the only one that does that in Corona. Stupid. Getting into an argument with a seller over a 6% commission when no one else in that city seems to be doing it and homes seem to be going into escrow. So you have to understand, you have to look at some of this stuff because you're fighting for a percentage. I want to get all buyers agents paid because we represent buyers too. I'd love for us to get paid, but we need the listing. So don't fight over commission because it's an ego thing. I get 6%. I get this. It's like, shut up. Get your commission as a listing agent. And then what do you want to pay the buyer's agent? We have a script for that. It works like gold. But this is just proof. Well, if you don't give them a good commission, you're not going to get your house sold. I don't know. I mean, this is 2%. That was in 21 days. This one, you gave the buyer's agent 3%. It took 124 days to sell. Not about commission. It's the dumbest argument. Dumbest argument I hear is this is fighting for commission and you're fighting for a buyer's agent and losing listings because you want to get 6% or whatever. And you're telling a seller that if you don't give a buyer's agent at least a certain amount of money, that they're not going to show your property. 3%. Everyone here would do a backflip if they represented a buyer and got 3% commission. And it took 124 days to sell it. Meanwhile, this one's at 2%, sold in 6 days, right? So it doesn't matter, is my point. But look at each city. So if you think, well, because I hear this all the time, oh, that script, Robert, doesn't work in our area. Right. Okay. Well, if anyone else would like to volunteer their services, I'm happy to look at another city that's only going to prove my point further for some of you that still like to fight over buyer agent commission on a listing contract. Crazy. Good stuff. Good stuff. But here's what's also really important. This as of August 13th, that commission, let me go back to this. That commission will no longer be on the MLS. Okay. So what I would potentially do is go into the cities you work and look at the pendings over the last 30, maybe 60 days and get an idea of what is the common buyer agent compensation in that area. What is the common buyer agent compensation in that area? because you now know what your competition is going to be doing. So let's say I'm meeting a buyer, I'm doing a buyer consultation, they want to buy in Corona. Looking for an agent to represent them in Corona. Based on these numbers, based on this, I would probably only ask for 2% because everyone for the most part is at 2%. There's a couple 2.5s, maybe you can get 2.5. But if you go in and say, "Oh, I want 3% to represent you," there's so obviously so many other agents in Corona are not doing 3%. So you're going to have to show a ton of value. I'm not saying you can't do it, but you have to know what your competition is doing. Okay. You have to know that in Corona, they're going to get other agents that'll do it for 1.5%, 2%. That's the common number in Corona. So if you're saying, hey, if I want to get paid up to 3%, you're going to have a tough time, is my point. So I would look at some of this stuff when you're doing that buyer representation agreement and putting a dollar amount on there. Good stuff. All right, questions on that? All right, very good. All right, let's get into some stats. All right, so we're going to look at the entire MLS, and then you can shout out some cities, and we can look at each individual city. So this is InfoSparks. If you're not familiar with InfoSparks, this is what it is. So you have all these different things here at the bottom. These are all the different categories you could search by. Essentially, it just shows you a graph of what's going on and what the trends have been over the last few years. You could search by property type. You can do bedrooms, bathrooms, filter by price. You do a lot of different things. For the purposes of this, we're just going to go over the basics. And then if you want to look at something specific, we can. So this is the MLS as a whole, the entire MLS. There's a couple of things that I tend to want to look at to see what's going on. So new listings. So new listings. So this number right here, 24,870. Everybody with me? 24,870. Great. That's how many new listings came on the market in June of 2024 in the MLS. 24,870. This plus 7.3, this is how it compares to June of last year. So it's 7.3% higher new listings this year compared to June of last year. So that's what I was talking about earlier at the Connect. There's more listings this year compared to last year. So that's a plus. That's a great thing, right? So the inventory's gone up a little bit. So you have 24,870 just last month. Active listings. So active listings, the difference in the two. New listings are just new listings that came on in June. Active listings are total listings, meaning it could be a new listing in June or it could have been a listing that was, held over from a previous month. But at the end of June, there were 46,910 active listings in the MLS. That's a lot. And it's up 21.6% compared to this time last year. So if you compare June of this year to June of last year, a lot more houses to sell. So great opportunities right now, which is nice. All right. Pending sales are going to be down, but that's mainly because the number of new listings from the previous months was down. So pending sales were down, but that should go up over the next couple of months. All right. Days on market. So I tend to always use the average because I think everyone understands average. I don't think everyone understands median. So 27. So you had 27 days on market, 0 change, which means it was 27 days June of last year. So the days on markets remain the same. Now, here's what's interesting. It's been going down every month, and now it kind of slowed down a little bit. Now we're at the same as it did last month, 27. All right, so a little bit slowdown in days on market. Price per square foot. See, give you an idea of what home prices are selling for. Up 7% compared to this time last year. So home prices up. Okay, and the MLS as a whole. Now, each city, we'll dive into a couple cities here. Each city will be different, but as a whole, MLS is up. And then if you go percentage of original price, you'll see this 100.6, which means the average home last month sold for 0.6% below list price, but that was lower than the previous months. Because you see here, March was at 100.6, and then it went to 101.2, 101.2 down to 100.6. So slightly less. So still sold above list price, but a slight decline compared to the last 2 months of how much above list price. So here's what you kind of see is the MLS as a whole. And again, we'll get into every city. Is homes are still selling for more money. Okay, because the price per square foot's up. So homes are selling for more money, but we're seeing a little bit of a slowdown in the aggression of the buyers. Little bit of a slowdown. So there's now what could potentially be the reason there's a slight slowdown in the aggression of the buyers on these properties? Because the days on market had been going down. Now it's flat. Homes were selling for 1.2% above list price last 2 months. Now it's down to 0.6%. What could possibly be the reason that it's slowed down a little bit? It's something we just talked about. I'll tell you. The number of listings are up 21%. Supply and demand. Okay, when you're down here and there's not as much inventory, the buyers are going to be more aggressive because they have less homes to look at. When your inventory's up 21%, buyers have more homes to look at, which means it slows down each home sale. You with me? You're with me. Okay, so keep that in mind, when you're talking to your sellers. Hey, look, we are seeing a little bit of more inventory right now. Homes are still selling above list price. Homes are still selling for more money. So it's still advantage seller. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. The advantage is still the seller, but Mr. and Mrs. Seller, it might not fly off the shelf in 6 days. Might take a couple weeks. It might take a little longer to get some offers. Some of the offers might not be as aggressive. Don't worry, you're still in a good position. Homes are selling above list price and you're selling for more money, but it's slowed down a little bit compared to the last couple months, simply because the number of listings are up. You with me? You're with me. All right, great. But what a great prospecting thing to do is go out there, talk to some sellers. Hey, Mr. or Mrs. Homeowner, so glad I got you on the phone or at the door. Wanted to give you some exciting news about the marketplace. I don't know if you know this, but the average home in our area is selling for 7% more than it was last year. Did you know that? No idea. Yeah. Which shows that there's still a high aggression for buyers in this area. So I'm curious, have you thought about selling your house? Should write that down. Oh, wait, we already have that script. All right, so that's what's going on in the market as a whole. All right, so who's got a city they want me to look at to see what's going on in that specific city or county or whatever?
I'll go.
Oh,
Pasadena.
Pasadena. Pasadena. All right, so let's look at Pasadena. New listings. 126 new listings last month, up 10% compared to June. So more new listings. So that's good. Active listings up 1.8%. So there's more listings on the marketplace, more people selling in Pasadena. We go to days on market. Average days on market is actually down 19.4%. So Pasadena is not the opposite, because we were flat, the market as a whole, but Pasadena city homes are selling for almost 20% faster than they were last year. So still going pretty good. Price per square foot up 3.3%. So not as big of a jump compared to the market as a whole, but still selling for higher. Percentage of original list price. Look at that. 104.5. So the average listing in Pasadena is selling for 4.5% above list price. So the buyers are very aggressive right now in Pasadena. So I mean, you could create a flyer or something that could go out to people in Pasadena and say, I don't know if you know this, but compared to this time last year, the average home is selling for 4.5% above list price and selling in 20% less time. It's a great opportunity for those of you that are sellers to look at this marketplace. So Pasadena, very strong for the sellers. And here's the thing. Let's say you have a buyer in Pasadena, because this works both ways. You now go to you have a buyer in Pasadena says, okay, great. Well, you know what? I'm not, I don't want to rush into something. Okay, great. Thanks. Move on. Well, what do you mean move on? I got to tell you, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, in Pasadena, homes are selling for 20% faster than they did last year, and they're selling for 4.5% above list price. If you don't want to be aggressive, then this ain't the city. Let's go check the numbers for Arcadia or Eagle Rock or something. But if your heart's set on Pasadena, when we see a property that you like, not only do we have to go see it, but we have to be ready to put in a really strong offer. Okay, so you can use this stuff with the buyers as well. Now, here's a line that you can use, because then you're gonna have a buyer go, I don't want to overpay for the property. Here's something you can use. Are you willing to pay the appraised value of the property? Yes, that's all I'm asking you to do. Okay, you get an appraisal contingency, you write up the offer. If the appraisal comes back and it matches the offer that you wrote, that means all you're doing is paying the appraised value. You're not paying over price. But yeah, Pasadena, I'd be interested. So here's a little something we can do, because Pasadena has some higher priced homes. So because over here you can also filter by price range and you can customize it. So, if someone was looking to buy something or sell in the $1 to $2 million range, but let's say Pasadena, let's just go high, 1.4 million or higher. What's that market like in Pasadena? So 1.4 million or higher, still selling for 3.2% above list price. Days on market down 45%. So actually the higher priced homes are actually selling faster, which is rare. So they're actually selling faster. And 3.5, so right around the same increase in price per square foot. But yeah, higher priced homes. So if you wanted to do some marketing, you could even customize it to like higher priced homes. Say, yeah, homes that are 1.399 or higher in Pasadena are selling 45% less time for 3% above list price. Are you thinking about selling? So yeah, good stuff going on there in Pasadena. All right, what other city you want me to take a look at here?
Lake Elsinore.
Lake Elsinore. What's happening in Lake Elsinore? All right, Lake Elsinore. Show me what you got. 122 new lists. Look at that, 31%. Wow, look at Lake Elsinore. 122 new listings in Lake Elsinore, which is 31% higher than June of last year. A lot of new listings in Lake Elsinore. Active listings up 35%. So pretty cool. A lot of people looking to sell in Lake Elsinore right now. Let's look at days on market. Ooh, but look at that. Days on market has been flying up in Lake Elsinore. So up 53% compared to this time last year. But even the last couple months, like April was down to 28, then it jumped to 35, now 46. So it just means for Lake Elsinore, it's going to take longer to sell. Doesn't mean you don't take a listing in Lake Elsinore, but the reason you want to know this is so you can explain it to your seller. Because when you're meeting with a seller and they expect that home sold in 2 weeks, well, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, the average days on market in Lake Elsinore is 46 days. Okay, which it's up 53% compared to this time last year. So the home will sell, but you know, if you want this home sold in 2 weeks, we're going to have to price it really aggressively. So this is how you'd have a pricing conversation. I need this home sold in 2 weeks. Then we have to price it really aggressively because the average is 46. So that means if we're above the right price, it's going to be more than 46 days. If we're at the right price, we're going to be somewhere in that 35 to 45 range. And if we go below price aggressively, we can get it sold in 2 weeks. So days on market up quite a bit. Go to price per square foot. But here's the thing, it's up 7.6%. So even though the days on market is up quite a bit, homes are still selling for more money. So it's still great for sellers in Lake Elsinore. There's more listings, but they're selling for more money. It's just taking longer to get there. But they are selling for more money. This will probably be, yeah. So this actually wasn't as bad as I thought. 99.4, which means the average home is selling for 0.6% below list price. So not pretty close to list price. So Lake Elsinore, great prospecting opportunity. Listings are up, which means there's a lot of people thinking about selling their houses. So that's great. The homes are selling for more money, pretty close to list price. You just have to prepare yourself and your seller that it's going to take a little bit more time. But yeah, a lot of listings going up in Lake Elsinore. The hell's going on in the lake? Is there like a monster out there or something? Found Loch Ness. All right. Any other cities you want me to take a look at?
Can we have a Banning as well?
Banning?
Banning?
Okay. You got it. What's going on in Banning? You see something. All right, 34. All right, so new listings. So Banning also higher than the MLS. MLS was only up 7% in new listings. Banning's up 18%. 58 new listings last month. So a lot more people listing their house in Banning. So that's great. So good chance to find a listing out there. Days on market down 21% essentially. So, but here's the thing, it's down 21%, but it's still 34 days. So they are selling for faster, which means buyers are slightly more aggressive, but still 34 days. So it's still, again, preparing your seller. Yes, there's a lot of listings. They are selling faster, but it still is on average 34 days. Okay. So again, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, if you want to sell your house in 2 weeks, you want one of those listings that sells in 8 days. I could do it, but we have to be aggressive on price. Okay. We have to do that. Price per square foot up 5.5%. So Banning is selling for more money. Good for Banning. And on average, selling for 2% below list price. So talking to sellers there is just, again, letting them know homes are selling fast. There's more listings. Homes are selling faster for more money. But that on average, they are selling a little bit below list price. So, you know, don't be surprised, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, if it does go a little bit below list price, just know that it is selling for more money and taking a little bit more time. But then if I'm talking to a buyer, because then you have buyers that say, well, I don't want to offer list price, I want to offer below. Okay, well, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, you're good in good news. Banning, the average home is selling for 2% below list price. So you can potentially go a little bit below list price in Banning, but 2%, not 10%, not 5%. You might be able to go to 2, maybe start at 3 and negotiate to 2, but the average is 2. So we could go a little bit below list price in Banning, but you know, not crazy. There you go. Good stuff. All right. Questions on any of these things? So what I would say to you is, you know, go into some of the cities that you're working. 91724. You got it, buddy boy. There's only 3 closings, so the numbers are going to be slight. It sometimes can be tough. But there were 15 new listings last month. So down 12% compared to this time last year. So less listings compared to this time last year, but 15 listings, which means the active listings are probably up 3%. Okay, so days on market is, well, that's the good news, is that the homes, there was only 3 sales there last month, but the ones that sold really fast. They sold in 6 days on average, down 63%. So if you get a listing there, it's off the market, probably because there's not a lot of listings there. Average home sold for 2.5% above list price. Price per square foot up 10%. So look at 91724. I mean, if you're thinking about selling, put your damn home on the market. I mean, the average home last month sold in 6 days for 2.5% above list price. And the average home in general is up 10% compared to this. I mean, like this is like a perfect seller situation. Listings are down, days on market's down, prices are up, and they're selling above. I mean, like this is like a seller's dream market in 91724. Way to go, Tim! Bye-bye! Good job. Yeah, well, market more around there, Tim, because I mean, yeah, I mean it's like a seller's dream. Good job, man. There you go. So look, here's what I'd recommend is go in here, find out some stats of your city. So that way, this is an easy way to sound like an expert, right? You could be, well, hey, I don't know, Robert, what's going on in the city of Arcadia? And you could just come in here real quick and be like, well, actually last month there were 76 new homes on the market, and homes are selling for about 6% more than they were last year. Wow, like instantly sound like an expert. So this is an easy way to get some market stats, but go to our marketing team, Studio 21, and say, hey, look, I want to put a flyer together because I want to go prospect around these cities with these stats, letting them know, put something together. I mean, have them for knowledge, but utilize them. I mean, and the beauty about this is that you can't argue it. It's straight from the MLS. It's not an internal numbers. It's not your personal numbers. It's not, something that you've kind of conjured up yourself. This is straight from the MLS. This is as honest as you could get in terms of real estate stats. So pretty cool stuff there. All right, very good. Well, there you go. So lots of opportunities out there. All right, everybody, good stuff. Appreciate you being here. Listings are up, so let's go find some listings. If you need anything or help on any of this stuff, just let me know.
Thanks, Robert.
Hey, thanks for playing.
Thanks, Rob.
I have a Google Meet in 5 minutes, so when you see me with my camera off, it's because I'll be over there. So if you need